What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets REACT, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction. So excited about this video. If you're new to us
And we're new to you,
make sure you scroll down,
hit that subscribe button,
and turn on the post notification bell
because we're on the road to 200K.
And we cannot get there without you guys, alright? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Let's get it.
Understand what it's like to actually live in the US. No, just...
Let's get it from the top. We're top.
Question for people in other countries. Do you want to visit us anymore?
No, just
Right now?
flat out no. And the ones who do want to go to the US, it's because they do not truly understand what it's like to actually live in the US. So I'm going to break it down for you. The American dream is dead. America is for the wealthy and nobody else. Another thing is, I'm afraid of being unalived at every single point. Like, I step out of the house, whether it be the grocery store, at a restaurant, it doesn't matter. And I'm a privileged person. I am a white person, and I'm afraid of the pew-pews. I cannot even imagine what it's like for people who don't have my skin tone. Another thing, it's very hard for me to make friends being outside the US, like even for a year. Like, it's one of two things. Either they get this look on their face where I'm just like, okay, they just really don't care, or they see me as bragging. Also, the food is designed to make us sick, and don't even get me started on healthcare.
America sees itself as the land of the free and home of the brave. But its own citizens and non-Americans don't always agree.
The best way I've heard it described to make sense for like the average person is that we're similar to the Fire Nation in Avatar: The Last Airbender. So the Fire Nation was told about how great they were and how like war was one way to kind of spread their greatness and share it with everyone else. But that's not really the truth, right? The Fire Nation just went around spreading war because they wanted to take stuff from other people. So this kind of draws parallels with the current United States. We kind of claim that we're for freedom and democracy and everything, but when you look at where we start wars, it's usually for an economic or political reason. You think it's a coincidence that we just happen to start wars in all these places that are very oil rich? But yeah, the reason the US is hated worldwide is because we go around doing a bunch of sketchy shit.
I'm curious on like Europeans' opinions on why they don't like Americans.
I'm an American that's been living in Amsterdam for about 8 years now. I'm completely integrated. My partner is Dutch, which is why I moved out here. I speak the language. I've got primarily Dutch friends. And here are some of the reasons why I have found that the Dutch, particularly, don't like American. So the Dutch mentality is all about nuchterheid, is the word that they use. And it's about being down to earth. It's about being level-headed. It's about being just like everybody else. Nobody is better than anybody else.
Yeah, we learned
and
that.
if you look at the American mentality, it's completely the opposite. It's about trying to be better than everybody else, trying to be the star, trying your hardest to be something. They find that type of mentality completely rude, dishonest, and how they like to call it, fake.
So one thing I want to add to that comment is that it's not that people just think like that. Even if you're a great person and you don't even try to put yourself out there to be something that you're not, you're just literally going day to day and trying to successfully be yourself.
Yeah.
Some people still put that mindset on you, and they judge you and get jealous off of that because of how they think everyone else is, and that's really not the case at all.
And we have titles such as the MVP, the number one this, the All-American this, you know, special teams and things like that. I think I understand where other people come from when they say that they don't like that mentality, but also I think for just my personal reason, I like to push myself higher than what I was last year or 10 years ago. I like to always judge my progress in life. So I want to be further, and not saying that they don't. It's just we have this phrase of it's me versus me. Right?
Yeah, that's kind of weird. That's kind of like removing ourselves. Yeah. I mean, and no different from us just creating a vision board. You know what I'm saying? It helps us maintain a lifestyle that we're trying to build upon. And it don't mean that we're trying to be better than anybody, or no one is trying to be better than anybody else. Period. Just to put that out there. It's just a simple fact that a person wants more out of life. I mean, that's just kind of what it is in America.
Right, and it's not saying that no other country don't want more, because obviously there's successful people all over the world.
1,000%.
It's just the mentality of not being stagnant. Yeah.
100%.
Second biggest reason is because Americans are brought up with the idea that America is better than everybody else. This savior complex that they saved everybody. They are the example, and that couldn't be further from the truth. If you look at things like gun control, healthcare, safety, equality, I mean, the US is the worst. Not admitting to that is something that they completely hate. And lastly, I don't know why, but there is this view that Americans are dumb. We are just dumb to them. I think that's something we're never going to be able to change. They're always just going to view the American mentality, the American mindset as just dumb. After 8 years living here, I can safely say that I totally agree with the Dutch mentality, and I share their view on us Americans, sadly. As much as I love my American friends and my American family, I don't love my country, and I only saw freedom and opportunity until I left.
Don't say that too loud. Don't say that too loud. Okay, now, obviously, I do agree with a lot of things. You know, it takes you being open-minded to view yourself from an outside lens sometimes, but I would never, ever agree to ever being dumb. I'm a student of life. Period. Yeah. I know that our school system has failed us in some areas, particularly geography. And the history of other countries, but I'm not dumb. I am a student of life, and I love to learn.
Yeah, one thing I was taught coming up is that if you lie, you're going to always have to keep lying to keep that lie alive. And it's crazy because I feel like for the most parts, you know, America has lied on a lot of parts. For instance, the school system, like a lot of people is brought up believing that, oh, we have everything here situated to where it's supposed to be, but then when you look outside and everybody else looking at us, like, you don't even know half of what the world has to offer because you've been taught only a minimum or above a mindset to what it is that's, you know, out there for you to understand.
Right.
Which kind of puts everybody on the back burner and say, we are better. You know what I'm saying? So.
Just speaking about the school system, right?
Oh, yeah.
A reason why we don't get into the diaspora wars and America versus this and all that type of negativity online is, I remember around last year, there was this big debate about what a Louisiana Creole was. And being that the Louisiana Purchase was a big part of our history as a country, people didn't know what a Louisiana Creole was. I was like, baby, please, y'all can have it. Y'all can have it. Don't include me in nothing. I'm
telling you. I mean, that's just, like, you got to escape it, bro. You got to, like, get out of the headspace of what you think you know, because there's so much more to still understand. And I think that's what it is. More understanding needs to be made.
Right.
And I'm going to answer the question for you. Number one, this American ego transcends race. It doesn't matter if you're white American, brown American, or black American. There seems to be, like, this ego that makes you think that you are the main character wherever you go.
The main character is
Therefore,
crazy.
when you go to places in Africa, you get surprised when you're treated like just another tourist. I've heard people saying stuff like, they only cared about my dollars. Yeah, this is a supermarket. You've gone there expecting a kinship and connection with people whose history diverges from your history. And those slave ships took off. The countries that, you know, you came from, they went on. There were still things happening to them, and there's still things happening to them today. Your history isn't as shared as you think that it is. There isn't this kind of black kind of community in a lot of countries in Africa because everyone's black. I would get it if you were in Sweden and you're walking past another black person and they didn't smile at you and it's like, we are the only black people here, like, in this city. I'd get it. But you can't go to Africa and expect black people to care that you're black. And also, it's not even just it's not a hate of black Americans. There's a hatred of Americans in general. A lot of places do not have a great history with America. And while it's very much clear to us that we can live in countries like England with terrible histories and who are right now selling billions of pounds and arming places like Israel, we can understand that within these countries there are different politics, there's different dynamics, there's still social hierarchies. We cannot expect people who are on the receiving end of the violence of the countries that we live in to care that we are not at the top of the social hierarchy here. But I get called European child by my own relatives, who I am literally biologically related to. Because nobody cares, because I was raised in Europe, so I might as well be white to them. Can't go to other countries and bring the race dynamics of your countries to theirs. And there are places where you go where people won't treat you like that. People will accept you and will be like, oh, I'm so happy that you're here. But you guys keep going to places that are heavily populated by tourists, by American soldiers, and a lot of these American soldiers are black. And then you're acting surprised when people aren't that, shocked and happy to see you. So to conclude, it's not that they hate you, it's that they don't care about you.
I just learned about something.
So a big part of that in the beginning seemed like it was geared towards Black Americans. So I have to say this, and we're currently in South Africa, so that is funny. We did experience some stares, but it wasn't bad stares. Like, yeah, they may have been like one or two, but it wasn't bad. But from the perspective of a African American, Black American, going to the continent of Africa, it's not that we want people to be happy that we're here. First of all, this is a very expensive trip to travel from anywhere in America, anywhere, but specifically the United States to the continent of Africa. That is a very expensive trip. I don't think anyone is traveling there for other people to be happy that they're there. This is something personal, deeply personal for us.
That's the word.
A lot of us are first generation people to even go back to Africa, so we're happy to be back. Like, yes, this is the continent that our people came from. Right. It's not that we want other people to be happy that we're here. We're happy that we're here.
Yeah, it's like we did it. It's an accomplishment. It's like you mentioned, it is personal. And you got to think about the teachings that come with that. You're an American, you know for a fact about slavery. So imagine a person who knows that information and then they finally get to go back to Africa. It has nothing to do about being received and being loved on. It's about being there and saying, I did something, and now let me experience it in a way that I can finally see it for myself. Because once you see it on TV at a young age, you know that is a lie when you get older. You know what I'm saying? So all that stuff go out the window, and now you're real fascinated by what Africa has to offer.
Right. And a vast amount of us are happy and proud to be Black. So it's not that we are wanting a parade, like the other video said, right? We don't want a parade that we're back in Africa. We're parading ourselves. We're meeting with the people. We're going to eat the food. We're going to all of the cultural sites, the historical sites, the luxurious places to sleep and do all of these things because it's an accomplishment for us. You know? So that's it.
Yeah, that conversation is for another day, though.
Absolutely absurd that we do here in the U.S. that no one else in the entire world does. Here in the U.S.,
the pledge.
We incarcerate people under the age of 18, 13 and up, for life.
She went there.
So there are teenagers.
No, because it's crazy. They actually were trying to pass a bill that...
They did pass it.
They passed a bill that minors can be tried as adults.
In Louisiana.
Some people didn't want that bill to go through because imagine your baby being in a prison cell with a 50-year-old man.
Because they got in a fight.
Because they got in a fight.
Ex-friend.
Now, we ain't talking about him bringing any artillery to school. We ain't talking about him unaliving somebody. We talking about him being booked for skipping school or something like that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, petty things.
Taking gum from a store. Yeah. But he would be tried as an adult now. And there's really no say so what mom and daddy can do about that once that baby go up in there for a gum that he just took from out the store. Because you don't want to give him a quarter. Like, small things, now he's up in a big house. Small things to the big house. I'm just want to put that out there.
Also passing a law for them to have guns.
Weird. That's wild. Okay. But let's see what she said. She finna cook.
In the U.S., we incarcerate people under the age of 18, 13 and up, for life. So there are teenagers that get sentenced to prison for life. They can die in the prison. They will die in prison. In 2020, an average of 1,162 children were arrested every single day. And, as you can imagine, because it's exactly the same with adults, Black children are disproportionately affected. 22 states in the U.S. have yet to ban children getting life in prison without the possibility of parole. I'll give you a guess as to which some of those states are.
Here's a sample of what the rest of the world thinks of the United States. Green means you have a favorable opinion of the U.S., blue, unfavorable. A lot of these tie into current events, like Poland's sky-high 93% rating, which makes sense given our mutual support for Ukraine. The overall results will be a bit surprising to those of us who remember the 2000s and the unpopularity of the Iraq War. Today, nearly twice as many respondents have a favorable view of the US as an unfavorable view. I think the result that's going to surprise Americans the most is just how unpopular we are in Australia, where nearly half the population has a negative view of the United States. And that's in direct contrast to how warmly Americans view Australia. If you take the two positive categories and combine them from this survey, Australia is the top country that Americans view favorably. What gives? Why do they dislike the US so much down under? I have some thoughts. Not only am I a historian and a policy geek, but I spent every summer of my teenage years traveling around Australia. And the first thing to remember is Australians all learn in history class that they spent the last century playing second fiddle to the imperial ambitions of their British colonial overlords and then on the behalf of America in Vietnam and the Gulf War. For example, one of the biggest blockbusters of the 1980s was the movie about the Battle of Gallipoli, starring none other than a young Hottie McToddy, Mel Gibson over here, where British officers callously threw Australian troops at prepared Turkish trenches. In the 1960s, Australians very much felt that once again, Australian troops were being sent, this time to Vietnam, to fight for the imperial ambitions, this time of America, instead of Britain. The largest per capita anti-war protests in the world were actually in Australia. And so for many Australians in the 90s and the aughts, it felt like Australia was repeating that history all over again, this time in the Middle East. But the thing that I actually heard the most as a teenager in Australia, especially in the 90s, was a sense that the US wasn't playing fair with Australian farmers. Now, you and I don't spend a lot of time thinking about agricultural policy, but it's a big deal in Australia. It is a net exporter of all kinds of agricultural goods, especially sheep. I remember sitting in a ute, a truck, with an Australian farmer who was just spitting mad at Bill Clinton for hypocritically lowering tariffs with Mexico and Canada as part of NAFTA, but raising tariffs on lamb exports from Australia. The US is used to getting its own way regardless of what anybody else thinks about it. But imperial entanglements and trade protectionism makes us enemies where we should be making friends.
America will bomb your country until there's nothing left, then come back 20 years later and make a movie about how sad their soldiers got from doing it. You're not wrong. Let's talk about the American military movie complex. And I haven't even watched this yet, but isn't that exactly the plot of Cherry? Generally, war movies are probably like my least favorite genre. 1917 is one that stands out. That's pretty damn good. But yeah, I think we all know how a lot of these movies are just used for propaganda anyway. But what is a lot less commonly known is that the Department of Defense sponsors so many movies that aren't even war movies, which then also get used as means of propaganda. Because if you want to use military equipment in your movie, you have to apply directly to the Department of Defense, and who then have to approve your script. They have criteria that you have to meet to even get approved, so a lot of the time, military cannot look like the villains in your movie. Transformers, DoD sponsored. Godzilla, DoD sponsored. DoD sponsored. DoD sponsored. And if you wait to the credits, you can see it. Top Gun is the best example of this because this whole movie is just used to rebrand the American military after Vietnam.
America is not what it once was. I've got some bad news for people who don't travel internationally. The world hates us.
Weird comment, but I've never watched a Marvel movie that they actually took the problem away from the people. They just broke everything.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the Hulk ran to the desert. I seen that when he first came out back in 2000, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't remember a Marvel movie where they was like, yo, let's make sure the people are safe and let's get them ball out of here real quick.
On top of the people's heads, too.
Man, every building went to the floor. Okay,
Okay, we're not the big dog. We don't have the clout that we once had. We aren't even, like, statistically on top of anything, education or anything anymore. And I've traveled a lot internationally. Over COVID, obviously, I stopped. And there's always been an underlying tone that America is dangerous. But, you know, we run Hollywood, so a lot of the media that is consumed by people in other countries is still American. However, I'm on my first international trip since COVID, and it has gotten worse. I have heard from every nationality that America is dangerous, but I arrived in Indonesia, which is a country that, you know, a lot of people aim to get out of and go to America. And the first thing that my taxi driver says to me is that he's afraid of America because of all the poppy seeds that we're taking and all the jazz powder that people are using. And he's convinced that people are walking around the U.S. like zombies.
Oh.
Because that's what's on the internet. That's what these people are seeing.
Oh.
And I think it's a really big lesson if you are sheltered and are not leaving the U.S. We don't got it. Like, we don't got it. People don't want to live in America. People aren't eager to live in America. When I was in Europe, a lot of the kids said their parents wouldn't let them go to America because they were afraid they were going to get popped by the police. Like, those are the fears. The only fear that Americans have when their children travel overseas is that they're going to be, like, in the movie Taken, which is a very small possibility. And they just use that as a fear. I don't even, like, that's not really even a founded fear. People aren't taking Americans who go, because you know how big of a hell case they would raise if some little white girl went missing? That's not what's happening. But what is happening is other people from other nations are going to America and bad things are happening to them. So, just a reminder, we ain't
My entire series on how the world views the U.S. highlights the concept of how all of us were raised to believe we live in the greatest nation in the world. We were taught, or perhaps indoctrinated, that everyone around the globe just wanted to move here so badly, and that America is the promised land. Now, many of us today know that this simply isn't true, that there aren't people around the world necessarily desperate to come here the way that we thought that they did. And not only do they not necessarily want to come here or even visit here, even if they were continually paid to do so, they would turn it down. So answer me this question, please. Why are there still so many Americans desperate to believe that we are the absolute greatest in the world, in spite of people all around the world telling us that we are so backwards? Most nations do not have this superiority complex like we do. You'd think that we might just take a lesson in humility from other countries who learn what doesn't work and implement new ways of being. But instead, us Americans, we double down on what doesn't work. Make it make sense.
Yeah, it's sad though, but the sad truth is, some people would ignore the truth only because the lie benefits them. That's what it is.
And they just don't want to believe anything different than what they've been told.
Yeah.
Some people just go off of what they have been told.
And that is scary because they won't look at it from a different perspective. They're only going to look at it from one lens, and that's a little dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
Makes sense.
One thing I've learned about being an American who travels a lot is one of the reasons people hate Americans is because we try to make their culture be like ours. In particular, to the way we order food. In America, it's all about customer service, right? The customer's always right. Customer gets to do whatever they want. They spoil brat, and you can't really say shit. That's changing a little bit, but in general, that's still the rule, right? Over here, they don't play that. In Europe, they do not play that shit. The customer is not always right. You can't ask for stuff on the side. You can't ask for replacements. You can't ask for the kids menu, like you're an adult. You can't send the food back if you don't like it, like none of that. And the problem is that Americans think that that's how the whole world functions because Americans don't really travel like that. It's so expensive to fly in and out of America and even within America. Have you guys noticed that? So we're not very well traveled.
This is how I know Americans think that.
So this is the thing, right? So we're on our first international trip.
Shout out.
And we have noticed that the food is lighter. We were prepared for that, right?
Yeah.
So instead of complaining, I'm just gonna order more food.
Yeah.
I'm gonna order more food. Ain't no reason for us to think that we're in America and like, can y'all put some more on this plate? No, I'm gonna just order extra.
I mean,
everybody happy.
That's simple. It's really that simple.
The world revolves around them. I'm American. I'm in America right now. Today's doomsday for us, right? It's the last day that the app is going to be on until it goes dark for the next 3 days or whatever the heck is going to happen. And I'm looking and I'm scrolling and I'm seeing people on TikTok shop live and like selling stuff and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, why are you doing that? The world is ending right now. And then I sat there introspectively and I was like, Talia, be smart. Not everybody that you see on your For You page is American or is in America. They may be aware of the situation, but it's not affecting them like that because they may be in the UK or in a Latin country or somewhere else. Yeah.
And I have absolutely changed my opinions since starting the series on how the world views the US about 6 months ago. I was genuinely under the impression that the world viewed us negatively during the Trump administration, but that was a kind of brief period in our history, and otherwise we were viewed fairly favorably. People not wanting to move to the US predates Trump. We are not the best country in the world where everybody has always wanted to move and they'll do anything to get here. Sure, some people do that, but not the way we're led to believe. Americans have been indoctrinated into believing that we are the best. In fact, we have a World Series that only contains American teams. And one of my biggest takeaways from the series is the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of comments from people all around the world saying if they were paid to, they would not move to the US, let alone visit.
Americans are not a monolith, and therefore there are many Americans who do not believe they deserve this bad reputation, especially when it comes to them being obnoxious.
As an American traveling around Europe, we have...
So this my thing. This is why I always say that no American has had the same experience, right? I did not grow up thinking, oh, we were the best this, we were the best that. Because, first of all, look at me. Look at who I am. I have seen firsthand things that my community deals with. I have been in the hospital with my uncle after getting beat brutally to a pulp, beat by the police. I have seen different things happen in my community. So I've never thought that we were the best. I just never had that
It's
mindset.
like, wow, everything is playing against me.
Yeah.
And I don't see how I'm going to get out of any of this type stuff. You know what I'm saying? And even if getting out was an option, you still will be in it because of who
family, culture.
The connectivity of it, you know?
Yeah. Seeing the school to prison pipeline. Seeing too much for me to think, oh, this is the best. Because, baby, this can't be the best.
Nah. And it's, same for me. I ain't never thought about it like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If anything, so.
Yeah.
Talk about this. I'm currently in Finland, but most countries I go to around Europe always talk about how Americans are self-centered and how the world always revolves around the U.S. But the crazy part is, when I turn on the news, it's American politics. And even when I was playing basketball at the local courts in Finland, the kids were speaking American English. They were saying stuff like, oh, you're garbage, bro, or pass me the ball, but then mixed in with Finnish. They call it Finnish English. And the wildest part, the thrift stores. Come look at this. 90% of the thrift stores I've been to all have American gear, colleges, pro teams, NFL teams, basketball teams, everything. They even got a proud to be an American shirt in Finland. Even with the food. The Cool Ranch Doritos literally say Cool American. Bro. Though some Americans can be proud, it's not really your fault. You go anywhere around the world and the American influence is everywhere, and we can't really help that.
True.
It is.
You can't make it up, can you? It's comments like this. They don't just happen on TikTok. They happen off of TikTok as well. And it's so unnecessary. American people, so this is what I'm trying to say with all of this. One, people hear me talk, and if they don't know I'm Canadian, they don't follow me here, they don't know me in real life, they'll often assume that I'm American. I'm Canadian. But this is what everybody thinks of me when I open my mouth. Now, before you say, it's not everybody, it's just a few ignorant people. No, I would say it happens on a daily basis. Wow. There will be some comment, it's just banter, it's just a joke, babes. Like, I've got a few comments like that on this thread, and it's not. Because you would not like if someone was constantly dissing where you come from. And I don't come from America, but people often assume that I come from America, and it's still meant and said as a bad thing, and it's not cool. So for me, I'm starting to feel convicted because a lot of the things as a Canadian that I do are very similar to an American. So how can I sit here and be like, ugh, cretins of the earth, Americans, but I do so many things sound like them, etc. So I don't know, I think maybe you should maybe go educate yourself a bit more. There's always going to be stereotypes of every single society. If I went into some of the British stereotypes that I see here, let's be real, I would probably have death threats. I would probably have someone telling me I need to stop whinging, moaning, etc. But there are things that I see here in England that I equally would say is obnoxious and uncouth.
So what do you think? How the world views
Stop it right there. Well, I would say that America is sick. I mean, if you look at the history.
Yeah, we sick
right now. That is sick.
The present.
Bruh.
Sick right now.
But you got to understand that is the result of. You know what I'm saying? And, I mean, the more attention you give it, the more it spreads. And that's anything. You know what I'm saying? Attention feeds. Attention is what things and people need to continue to thrive, if anything.
Right.
So I feel like the more attention you give it, the more it spreads. The less attention you give it, you starve it.
Yeah, but politics aside, you know, racism aside, I think that...
Well, that's a lot to push to the side.
That is a lot to push to the side.
Are you, that's all of it? Or that's some more you want to...
There's a lot of good ones. A lot of good ones. We love who love us. That's how I could end it. I don't know how to end it.
I don't know how to end it either because...
We'll see y'all soon.
Yeah, peace.
Peace.